I like that you talked about your target audience and their pain points, and then you laid out a pretty good general marketing plan. The only thing that I think you could make it even better would be to prioritize your channels, because obviously blogs, paid, influencer, email, that's a lot of channels. So if you can just be like, hey, I would focus on these 2 or 3 channels and go a little bit into detail on. Karina, thank you for doing this mock interview. It'll be super helpful for those who are watching. For today, I'll ask 5 common product marketing questions. Some of them are behavioral, and one will be a case study on how you approach a marketing strategy. My first question is the most common one, which is tell me about yourself.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm currently a product marketing manager at a company called Collinsend. They're based out of London. And at Collinsend, I drive go-to-market strategies, and I also build scalable processes for products like Lounge Management System. It's a system software used by different airport lounges throughout the world. And right now, it's being used by over about 45 lounges in the region. Then my background blends a little bit of the corporate marketing and entrepreneurial experience. I co-founded an e-commerce business that ran successfully for 5 years. And then that's where I pretty much honed my skills in customer insights, messaging, and strategy. I've also worked in different campaigns and did a little bit of social media strategy. Then now currently the product launches and helping companies build a strong market presence. Um, my goal is to continue creating an impactful product strategies, driving user adoptions, and then further developing expertise in market positioning, especially in customer-centric industries. Also, outside of my day-to-day role, I host a Spark and Hustle podcast, and that's where I focus on stories of career and entrepreneurial growth. Then I also serve in the board of Empowering Women as Leaders as their marketing director. EWL is a nonprofit that focuses on helping other women reshape their lives.
Nice. Thank you for that. You did a good job of explaining what you do and sharing some of your background. Maybe 2 small points that could make the answer even better would be, one, share a linear story of your background to your current role. I think you did that. You started with, I am a product marketing. My background was this. I did this. I did that. But if you can frame it into a story like, hey, I'm a product marketing. Before I worked in customer service, I was really interested in this part about product marketing that led me to become the product marketing manager today. And my superpower is, that's the second small point, which is highlight one thing you're really good at, or 1 or 2 things. So you can be like, hey, my superpower is customer empathy. I really love figuring out what the customer problems are, bringing those insights to inform the strategy, and then making sure that resonates with our customers. That would make you a little more unique, because I think if you try to just say, hey, I like to do messaging strategy, all this stuff, you're of a jack of trades versus, hey, I'm really good at this one thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good feedback that I will take in consideration for sure.
My second question is, can you tell me about a product launch that you led? A
Yes,
successful product launch.
yes, of course. So within the current role that I'm in, and the same product that I mentioned on the earlier question, which is the Lounge Management System, I led the launch of major enhancements of the LMS, which is the system, which helps the operators streamline operations. And the goal was to increase adoption and engagement with this tool, particularly focusing on its new UX UI improvements and key features such as pre-booking, waitlist, passenger flight information. So I developed a go-to-market strategy collaborating with product UX, UI, and then also the launch partnerships teams. together we worked on aligning the messaging. And then I also created the product positioning, the customer enablement materials, and then launched the communications to ensure operators fully understood the value of what these updates were going to be for them. As a result, the adoption increased. As a result, the adoption increased by 100% within only 6 months. And the customer feedback highlighted the improvement, efficiency, and the user satisfaction within the platform. The success also caught attention by other stakeholders in the region. So now we are looking into implementing the product within EMEA regions and then hopefully eventually APAC as well.
Nice. And can you tell us more about how did you position the product and what were some of the main channels you used to drive customer adoption?
Yes. So the way I positioned the product was really focused on the value that we were giving these launch operators. So positioning it in the difference of what the current systems they were already using, which a lot of them were manual systems. So by having an automated process for them, it was going to be way better streamlined operations and having everything being in one single platform instead of them having different notepads or manual process that they had. So I position it by differentiating what the current systems they were using to what we have to offer them. And then one of the main channels I used was webinars. So hosting webinars with these launch operators, keeping in mind that one launch operator can have more than 5 lounges that they own. So they have significant staff members, and training all the staff members at the same time was a challenge. So the webinar really helped with covering all of the lounge operators within all of their staff in their different lounges. Another channel that I also used was email marketing. So creating materials such as product on a page or one pagers to shared training materials with the staff was another of the channels that I used.
Awesome. Overall, good answer. You did a good job of sharing what you exactly did in the go-to-market motions. And you answered the follow-up question well, which is how did you actually do it? My only small point of feedback is maybe in the future, if you can marry the two together, hey, this is what I did. Also, this was our positioning. These are the main channels we leveraged. If you just combine the two answers into one so that the first time someone asks a question, they don't have to ask the follow-up question, that would be great. Otherwise, good job.
Great feedback.
My next question is, can you tell me about a time when you uncovered a key customer insight?
Okay, I hope it's okay that I'll continue with this story of the same product because I really am loving working with this product and it's been a great success so far. So I'll continue with the launch operator user interviews. So because we worked on improving the system and working on all these features, then I thought, how do we know if what we're doing is actually working and how do we get the feedback? When conducting UX UI research for the LMS, I noticed lounge operators were struggling to track guest occupancy during peak hours. So my goal was to uncover the pain points and identify a solution that addressed the operators' frustrations. I organized and led user interviews across the region in different markets and collaborated with our research team. Then I identified that the operators were lacking real-time visibility into the occupancy levels, which was causing the operational inefficiencies. Based on those insights, which were critical, then we prioritized building a live busy indicator dashboard. And post implementing this dashboard, the operators reported 30% improvement in managing the lounge capacity, enhancing the customer experience during their peak hours.
Got it. And then can you tell me more about how were the interviews? Yeah, tell me about maybe when was your aha moment as you were interviewing these subjects?
Yes, so during the interview, I did a section of live scenario questions. So, okay, you have two passengers walking in the lounge at 3 p.m. afternoon on a Saturday night. Can you walk me through how you would check them in and what would you do after checking them in? So, by seeing these real life scenarios of the mock-up questions, that was when the aha moments clicked, when I realized staff wasn't doing certain steps or they were clicking on buttons that they weren't supposed to. So I believe the aha moments came when I implemented a section with real life mock-up questions.
Mm, got it. And then, so the insight that you uncovered was a result of them saying that it was a problem or a result of you finding out, oh, this is a problem?
The second one, a result of finding out that they had a pain. It was both. I would say it was a little bit of both. So they would mention it, and then
Mm,
I would also uncover even more insights when doing the live scenario questions.
mm, got it. Good answer. No real feedback here. You did a good job of outlining the process and the insight. My next question is, can you tell me about a time when you had to work with challenging stakeholders?
Yes. So with this current company, Collinsand, I worked on launching the different updates for the launch management system. And there were different priorities between the product team's roadmap and then also the feedback from the end users. My challenge within a project like this was to align with stakeholders and ensure both user needs and product objectives were met. To solve this problem, I facilitated numerous cross-functional meetings to communicate the research findings and really emphasize on how the user's feedback aligned with the long-term goals of the business. I provided data, the quantified data that I got from the different interviews to show how certain UX UI changes would increase the adoption. And then this approach brought alignment across different teams and then leading to prioritize the features that satisfy the needs and stayed true to our roadmap. As a result, the product updates were well received and then the adoption grew another 40%.
Can you talk more about what was the challenging aspect of working with these stakeholders? Maybe who are these stakeholders and what did they not agree on? And then how did you bring them together?
Yeah, so I would say the main two stakeholders would be the product team and then also the partnerships team. So in order to conduct this interview, it takes time out of the lounge staff. And we have to be really careful on how we approached the launch operators to know if they could lend us a staff member, either somebody in a manager role or either somebody in a receptionist role who was the one that is using the system every single day for so many hours. Now, let's keep in mind that some of these lounges are busy 24/7. So really coordinating between the product team and the partnerships team to figure out how I was going to coordinate these interviews with the launch operators was a big challenge. So I grabbed everybody into many cross-functional meetings and I asked them, just give me one or two that I can interview and we can prove the different insights that we can gather from this. So we did a proof of concept for the interviews before they allowed me to escalate into interviewing more lounges.
And who had the ownership over, I guess, the launch operators? Was it the product team or the partnerships team?
The partnerships team, but also because the research team was volunteers of the product team. We don't in the company, there was a challenge too because there's not such a official research team. So we also had to use the resources of some of the product colleagues, like the product manager or the UX lead to join the interviews. So also taking time out of their day to volunteer to join. And it was so successful that we not officially, but we built our own research team
Mm.
without being official to the company, but we're doing it out of our time, volunteering.
So prior to maybe doing the first proof of concept, how did you get them to get on board with the idea? Yeah, it would take resources out of their teams. How did you convince them that, hey, this is a big enough priority that it's worth testing?
It wasn't a big challenge to convince just because our company doesn't do that much research. Thankfully, there were newer colleagues that haven't been in the company as many years as I have. So I explained to them the different products that we've had. I've explained to them the little research that we've done. So by proving them that we can only know how successful product is going to be by doing the feedback loops. So I gathered them together and said, hey, we've never done this type of research. And if we really want to improve on our technology and product and innovation, we must do this type of research. So I think just showing them the historically of what we've done in the past, which it hasn't been much, unfortunately, and influencing them to make a change so we can be better. It was the way that I influenced them.
Mm, got it.
They were products, so they of course they were interested on doing the research. So then we can also work on how we can better our products.
Mm, got it. Yeah, this was helpful. Great answer. I think you went into a lot of detail. I think the only feedback I have is, yeah, again, if you can bring those earlier into your answer, maybe I would say set up the context a little more. So maybe
Mm.
you could start by saying, hey, our company, we haven't done much customer research. I thought it was a good idea to do it, got the partnership, product teams together. The challenging aspect was resourcing, right? But then you propose the idea of a proof of concept. And through the proof of concept, it would be a good testing bed to see if you wanted to scale it up. Got good results. Both teams appreciated the insights. And then from there, you were able to get them on the same page to get more customer insights. So I think if you can just provide a little more context, more highlight on the problem with why they are hesitant, and then your solution.
Thank you. So what I understood, just so I'm clear on what I understood, give the context and then also work more on my structure on how I'm going to answer after giving the context.
Yeah, I would say the structure would be provide a little bit of context on the problem or the situation, highlight why this was an issue for stakeholders. So the resourcing is the challenging aspect, and
Mhm.
then provide your solution, which is proof of concept, bringing those insights back to the stakeholders, getting them aligned. I think that would be the solution. So three parts: context, problem highlight, solution highlight.
Thank you.
My last question is, let's do a case study. Just wanted to see how you would approach solving a marketing problem. So let's say you work at Booking.com and they're experiencing a lot of seasonality, right? They're getting a lot of booking during the summer, but in non-summer months, engagement is dropping. How would you create a marketing strategy? It doesn't have to be a go-to-market, it's just a general marketing strategy to drive bookings during off-peak periods.
Okay, so I think I would start using the identifying target audiences. Then I would go on into segmenting the messaging and campaigns, and then incentivizing the bookings. And then lastly, optimizing the content and the channels. And I'll talk a little bit more about each one of these. So when identifying which target audiences can we focus on based on the off-peak seasons, I think I would focus more on price-sensitive travelers. So travelers who are looking for offers, deals. I would also focus on remote workers who have the flexibility to be traveling. And then I would also focus on the retirees. So people that have retired and have the freedom, flexibility of their time. And then, of course, families who, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, are looking into a year-round affordability for travel. So I think those would be my audience that I would identify first for creating this marketing strategy. Then I would work on segmenting messaging and different campaigns for these specific travelers. So really highlight the benefit of the off-peak season travel, which some of the perks or benefits could be fewer crowds. You're not gonna find as many crowds. I'm not sure when the off season for Taiwan is, but yeah, so fewer crowds, unique experiences, and then maybe even lower cost for these off-peak seasons because there would be more incentivizing deals. Then I would run a personalized email campaign for each one of these audiences with recommendations on quieter destination, not so many popular places destinations. So really showcasing those hidden gems, locations that they can see. And I would probably do this through targeted social media ads. And then whenever I say incentivizing the bookings, probably introducing a loyalty perks for off season. So it could be a loyalty program for these off season travelers, and it would be free upgrades, maybe partner with some local businesses to bundle different experiences like tours or dining discounts, mainly the experiences, as I mentioned. And then I would optimize the content and channels, probably launching some other channels would be launching blog posts and videos as well for top travel spots for the month of what's an off season? Probably September or October, right before after summer, before the holidays. So really focusing on highlighting the top travel spots for X month. And then I would probably use paid ads with geo-targeting and retargeting as well to convert into the website visitors. Then I use another channel as influencers, probably. So travel influencers that will emphasize on those off-season perks. I believe this strategy creates a year-round value that builds customer loyalty and positions Booking.com as a go-to platform for traveling planning beyond the peak season.
Really like your structure and organization of the content. Would love to explore a few of the channels. You mentioned email, blogs, influencer marketing as a way to reach your target audience, price sensitive people, remote workers. Which channel would you focus on if you wanted to go after, say, remote workers?
So for remote workers, I would probably do the traveler influencers because a lot of these influencers, that's what they do for their full-time job. So they're on the go, working remotely. So the sentiment, not the sentiment, the connection that they can get with the audience of the remote workers and the influencers being always working remotely as well as they're traveling, I think the connection would be more tied together and they will be more, there's a word for it and I went blank. More, not understand, sympathy? No.
Synergy?
Maybe synergy, but I would mean like a connection because they're both doing similar things at the same time. They're both working remotely. Just one is being a travel influencer, showcasing all the different places, and the other one, it's probably doing other type of work that is also for remote workers. So I would use influencers.
Got it. And then let's dive into that a little more. How would you measure, how would you know if your influencer campaign is successful? And maybe before that, like what would you, how would you think about which influencers to work with? Big influencers, small influencers, or a combination? And then how would you measure if they're driving results?
Yes, because I've already worked with influencers in the past, travel influencers specifically. Depending on my budget, of course, I would try to do a mix of micro and macro to do some testing and see which one performs better. Based on my experience, micro influencers have performed the best. So probably maybe trying one macro and one mic and more a few micro influencers. Then again, based on my experience, this channel has been mainly for awareness. So really looking into showing the experience of what it's like to travel off peak season and bringing that awareness into the audience's eyes. Now, there are a couple influencers that I know are the top performers for lower funnel, so for converting. Then I would try to go back to the ones that I know that perform that will give me those KPIs of conversions. So I would think I would track the engagement that they've had, the awareness, and then any probably cost per acquisition that we would do if they were doing any paid push advertising through their own influencing.
So you would put for awareness is basically views, likes, and comments. For conversions, are you thinking of like a referral link or like a coupon code? Like how are you gonna track how much revenue or how much booking this influencer brought?
Yes, so I would say coupon codes for sure, yes, and then referral links as well.
Got it. You gave a really good macro overview of how you would do the Booking.com campaign. I like that you talked about your target audience and what their pain points. And you also mentioned the value propositions, right? Unique experience, less pricey, your target audience, remote workers, yeah, people who are cost sensitive. And then you laid out a pretty good general marketing plan, blogs, and all the different channels. The only thing that I think you could make it even better would be to prioritize your channels because obviously blogs, paid influencer, email, that's a lot of channels. So if you can just be like, hey, I would focus on these 2 or 3 channels and go a little bit into detail on what you mean, maybe influencers, micro influencers, email campaign, it'll be like a drip campaign around the different months, right, to your existing customers. So I think that would be the only small feedback I have.
And based on your experience for a case study like this, which three channels would you focus on?
So I think what I would have focused on would be I would have given the same answer as you in terms of the macro level, but be a little more specific. I would say, hey, these audiences, I would focus on remote workers, right? Because price sensitive audience, that could be like an evergreen campaign. Remote workers could be a little more targeted. And then you can be like, I want to focus on maybe 2 types of content, influencer marketing, because that's a great way to build outreach. And maybe you can talk about what about creating our own video content. You don't over rely on influencers because you're also creating your own video content. And then you can be like, I want to look at what's trending, countries that are trending or activities that are trending and then build content to tie that to travel. And then you can just riff off of that. And then the interviewer would be like, oh, okay, this is her general plan. And then she said if she has limited resources, she would focus on this segment with this type of campaign.
That's really helpful to hear from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Karina, for sharing your answers and giving everyone an insight into what an interview might look like. Thank you so much. And I think this will be helpful.
Thank you. I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to do the mock-up interview, and I hope it helps somebody else during their interview process.